Okay, magic makers. Today's podcast is inspired by Bill Bowerman, and he is the co-founder of Nike. And he was this running coach back at the University of Oregon, or Oregon State University, back in the, I think it was like the 60s, 70s. Google me. I know I know his name, but I'm not quite sure what his tenure was. But he was a track coach and the co-founder of Nike. And he had this really great focus on things that primarily runners needed to focus on in order to be a great runner, right? And if you're a track coach, that's what you want. You want great runners. And so for me, I am a health and fitness coach, and I want women to be great at life. 10 years ago, if we worked together, I would be like, how can I get you skinny quickly? And I've shifted from that. My focus is, how do I get you to live your healthiest life? How do I get us to stop chasing the latest diet trends so that you can finally look in the mirror and be like, you know what? I feel satisfied with my life. I don't feel like my life revolves around whether I'm a size 12 or a size 2. And so tonight I wanted to really just like, how do you reshape your thought process as it comes to health and fitness? And there's three things here that I really want to focus in on. And the first one is moderation. I've done several podcasts on moderation, and I'll link them in the show notes. And it comes from what Bill describes as, you don't want to be undertrained or overstrained. And that's what I see so many women. You are either under eating or overeating. And we have this like giant pendulum that goes from like, I can only eat 1,200 calories to like, oh, I just can't stay on the path. And you go crazy. Where it's like, how can we be more with moderation? It's not about restriction. It's like, how do I live in this? Like, the best way I can describe it is, one is being like, I have to measure and monitor every single morsel that puts in my mouth. 10 is fuck it. How do we live between 5 and 7? And so that gives us flexibility, gives us latitude to have a social life, gives us latitude to have a glass of wine with your sweetie, go out for girls' night and have some chips and guac without thinking, oh gosh, tomorrow I'm going to have to pay for what I did today. And so I always challenge my clients, like, how do we live between 5 and 7 so that we're not on either extreme of like the, oh my God, I need to like ratchet down the hatches, to like, screw it, whatever's not nailed down is going in my mouth. And with that moderation is that we can't always be on a diet, because I want you to really be honest with yourself. If you've been like watching every single morsel that you've been putting on your mouth and you've been getting results, Kim, I'm just gonna shut up and walk away. But if you haven't been getting results, something needs to change. Okay. Maybe it is you're eating a little bit more food. Maybe it's the types of foods that you're eating. I recently started working with a client, and she's like, I haven't changed the way I've eaten in 15 years. And I was like, okay, but are you getting results? And she's like, no. Then yeah, we got to make a change. Where I've had another client, she has been eating the same way for like 5 years, and her weight hasn't changed. And she's been very consistent. Like, she's a very, she tracks everything. Um, very consistent with her tracking, and her weight hasn't changed. And her body composition has changed a bit because she's changed some of the food choices that she's made, but overall her weight hasn't changed. And so for someone like that, I'm like, okay, now we can start to really like dive into, what are you eating, and unpack that, because you've been consistent with, one, tracking, but two, been consistent with your weight. So now I know that like the amount of food that you're eating isn't playing around with your weight, versus someone who's jumping all over. They're up 5 pounds one week and down 10 and up 15 and so forth. It's hard to better get a baseline. And with the client who's just like, my weight just really has not changed in years, we can work from there, because we know that the calories that she's eating has been consistent. And now it's just a matter of, how do we shake that up a bit? The next comes consistency, right? And that's why I told you about that client, because she's been very consistent. Her weight, her food has been very consistent, and she's been getting consistent results. Like nothing radical has changed. And this is where so many people are like, consistency, boring. Yeah. Weight loss should be boring. Your nutrition, your workouts should not be what you use for entertainment. That's what Netflix is for, right? Because this is where the magic happens. Bill Bowerman says, if you have a body, you are an athlete. And then you are an athlete. And athletes thrive on consistency. Love him or hate him, Tom Brady. Do you think Tom Brady has these wild fluctuations? No, he stays the course. Serena Williams, did you think she has these wild fluctuations? No, she stays the course. And in order to be the GOAT, to stay on top of your game, you have to have like that flexibility where, like, when the season's coming, they're both dialed in like that. The only thing that matters is the season. And when the season is over, okay, I can open things up a little bit. I could be a little bit more flexible. I could be a little bit more loose, and then work my way into something a little bit more challenging. But for many of us, we get so stuck in I must lose these 20 pounds and eat the same way until I lose these 20 pounds. Where for many of you, I think your body, actually, no thinking, I know your body could benefit from having a few more calories a few times a year, and having a few less calories a few times a year. Because consistency doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean doing the same thing over and over again until you die. It's showing up and putting in the work, even if it's hard. It means finding a routine that works. And here's what I'm going to ask you, does your routine work for you? Do you get derailed? If the stars don't align, are you thrown off track? And, the summer's coming, holidays, do you find like, oh, I'm not home, so I can't, eat the way I normally eat or work out. So you might as well just not do anything. Does that sound like you? What does consistency look like for you? What does consistency mean for you? And one of the things I always have my clients do, and one thing I'm going to have you do right now, is create non-negotiables. Like these are like your daily nutritional commitments. And if you already have some and you're already doing them really well, then rock on with your bad self. I challenge you to come up with some new ones. For a long time, my three were move my body at least 3 days a week, have a big ass salad every day for lunch, and sleep 7 hours. I've been doing that for probably 10 years. And I'm like, this year, or actually last year, I was like, girlfriend, it's time to mix that shit up. If your client kept coming to you with the same three things, you'd be like, and are you doing them? And I'm like, yeah. And then I'd be like, well, it's time for something new. So now my focus is at least 100 grams of protein, at least 30 grams of fiber every single day. And I am working on at least 5 minutes of mindfulness, right? So those are the three things that I am working on right now towards my non-negotiables. So you decide like what it is, because you do want to allow yourself that occasional treat without any guilt. Go out on Friday could be your anniversary. Go out and have an anniversary dinner. Don't eat like an asshole, but go out and have a dessert. Go out and have the glass of wine, the champagne to celebrate. Have the appetizer. Do that, but don't be like, if it's not nailed down, it's going out in my mouth, because depriving yourself never works, right? So here's where we start to make better choices, better decisions. Give us the flexibility, because moderation is what helps us to stay on track without burning out. And finally, the power of rest. I don't know how many times, I see women talk about like, oh, my rest day is yoga, or I go to Pilates. Like I'm talking like, rest isn't a luxury, right? Bowerman says rest is where the recovery happens. If you are training hard, your body needs the time to repair and strengthen. And without rest, you're risking injury and burnout. And how many of us have been injured and you're just like, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm injured. And you're so impatient to get back in the game. And so I challenge you to have at least 1 to 2, honestly, I'm being honest, if you're over 40, 2 full rest days. And a rest day is not, I'm going to yoga, not I'm going to Pilates. A rest day is like, maybe you go for a stroll. Maybe you just do some stretching, not yoga, right? Not going to a 90-minute hot yoga class. Maybe it's just like you're doing like a 20-minute like hip mobility routine or shoulder mobility routine, but just something that just like is relaxing. Um, or you're sitting on your ass and just resting. Rest is not just about sleep. And especially when you get over 45, sleep is a challenge for us. Our hormones are getting a little buck wild and we might not be able to get in that sleep, but it's crucial that you take these recovery days because it's respecting your downtime. It's listening to your body. And there's times when my body's like, girl, I know we said we were going to have a workout today, but maybe I don't go as hard. And I've done a podcast on this. I'm gonna have to look it up so I can link it here. But it's like, how do you categorize your workouts? So it's like, I use the stoplight, like red, green, red, yellow, green. Red, maybe you didn't get a good night's sleep last night. Maybe you're like sore and banged up from a previous workout. Then I don't work out. Like, even if it's a scheduled workout, I don't work out. Or if I do, it's like I go for a walk or I do some mobility work just because I just need to move my body. Yellow, maybe I got okay night's sleep last night. I feel all right, but I don't feel like on my game. I feel about like 70%. I'll still work out, but I'm not gonna be like, oh, today's the day, I'm gonna PR it. I might, instead of reaching for like, a 20-pound weight, I'm like, I'll do a 12 or 15-pound weight. I'm still working through, but it's more like going through the motions. And then on green days, when I'm feeling like, yeah, I got this, I'm doing amazing, then I can feel like, yeah, I'm gonna up the speed on, when I ride the bike. I'm gonna, maybe try a heavier weight today, maybe increase my rep count. But I break it down and like really listen to my body, where, old Kim would be like, shut the hell up. It's leg day and we're gonna lift as heavy as we possibly can, even if your body says no. Because, as I kicked off this podcast, Bill talked about, he's like, you want to be undertrained versus overtrained. So it is, how do you find that balance, right? And being flexible in your approach is the key. And so many of us are like, it has to look a certain way. And that's where we get, really thrown under the bus, and thrown off track, is that we're like, my workouts have to be 2 hours. My food has to look like this. My sleep has to look like this. I has to. And if it doesn't, then you're like, it's crap. And you're either off searching for the next thing, or you tell yourself, I'm going to wait till next Monday. And so what the point of this is that here's where we have to really start to shift what our mindset tells us. For years, we grew up, it's not our fault. We grew up with the no pain, no gain. We grew up in the, like, if you are not bleeding from the eye from a workout, did it even work out? We grew up in the, like, if you ate something, you could burn it off at the gym. That's straight up bullshit. Sorry, not sorry. The key here is like figuring out, what does consistency look like for you, right? For consistency, that is realistic. Being understandable, like, how many days a week can I show up for the gym? Especially looking at my schedule. I'm dating this podcast, but if it's summertime, holidays, maybe you're in a season that your kids are doing 500 different sports and you're pretty much their Uber, you know, find out like what's realistic for me right now with consistency. What can I like do that makes me feel like I'm being healthy? Is it, making sure I bring my thing of water with me every time I leave the house? Great. Is it, setting a bedtime? Awesome. Is it, having a protein shake for breakfast so that I don't skip breakfast? What are ways that I can start to like plan health and fitness into my life versus have it revolve around my life? And the type of clients that come to work with me, we spent our 20s with our health and our fitness being the pinnacle of our life. I don't know how many times that I had to earn some free time with my family, and that if I was going to the beach, I was getting up at 5 a.m. There was a gym that was like 40 minutes from my house, driving there so I could go to the gym before I went to the beach with my family. Or I could only stay at a hotel that had a gym, right? So I don't know how many times I did all of those things. And now I've figured out a way to make my life and my fitness all come together. But I've let go of the expectation. Let go of the expectation that a workout has to happen at a gym. I let go of the expectation that the workout that I do on vacation is going to be the same type of workout that I do at home. But there's a way I can still move my body, honor my body without it not being the same exact workout. And that's what I want all of us to do, is like, how can we start to be better at planning health and fitness into our life without it feeling like it has to look a certain way? And if you are like, Kim, that sounds interesting, but I don't know how to do that, dude, hit me up. I can definitely help you do that, because when you approach health and fitness that way, it becomes sustainable. And the more health and fitness becomes sustainable, the less likely we are to have these big starts and these big stops. And we're able to be like, this is just how I live. This is just who I am. Like, it's my identity. Like, you're not feeling like you need to get up and work out every single day on vacation. You're not feeling like when the holidays come, you got to press that pause button. You're not feeling like when you go away for a long weekend, it takes you just as long to get back into the groove of things. All right, magic makers. So here's the thing. Moderation is about finding that balance between being kind to yourself and flexible with your nutrition. Consistency is about showing up and defining what health means for you. What exactly are your um bare minimums? And then tell yourself rest is good, right? Don't beat yourself up for sitting on the couch. I know us typed A plus plus with the side of A plus plus, we get all frustrated that on a rest day, we're like, oh my God, I should be doing something. I can't just be sitting here watching TV. Can't just be sitting here reading a book. I can't just be sitting here on a beach enjoying the view. I should be doing something else. Give yourself permission to like unplug, power down the engines. And my hope is that when you start to do these things more and more, you'll realize like, I was just stressed out over what? I was, wrapping myself around the axle because of what? So I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Where do you find yourself struggling? Are you pretty good at moderation? Are you good at consistency? Are you good at rest? Or you suck at them all? Or you're got 2 out of 3, whatever it is. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. All right, magic makers, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will talk next week.